Hello to all runners, old, young, fat, thin, fit and unfit, and also those who haven't even started running yet but think they probably should. The answer to that question is yes, you should, because that's what the three people on this podcast have done at various times and with various levels of success. More of that later. I am joined, as ever, by my erstwhile companion, partner and fellow runner, Andrew Tudbury. Andrew, how are you?
Hello, Oliver. Yes, I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, but of course you were a bit laid low with an injury, and you are best placed to pronounce it, because I never can. Tell me a little bit about it and how you've got on since last we spoke. Hopefully well.
So this is the delightfully named plantar fasciitis. I assume it's that. I haven't got a medical diagnosis, but it essentially means you have a sore bottom of your foot, essentially. And as I now know, these things can hang around for quite a long time, but I have got some exercises that I'm doing and some potions and lotions, and I'm following the thing that I normally do, which is to try and heal myself. And that I'll keep trying that for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's always the best way.
We have a 10K
you had that
coming
cardiac
up.
arrest as well, Andrew. That was quite interesting. You,
Yes.
yeah, I think you fixed it with elderflower, didn't you?
Elderflower and essence of daffodil, I find.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a shared 10K that we're doing on Sunday. Maybe we can talk
6
about
days.
that in a bit.
Yeah.
And then yes. So hopefully, if my foot doesn't literally come off, then I'll be on the road to recovery, I think.
Good. That's a real relief. Louise, my wife, who's also doing it, she's recovered, so she's doing well. I flew round training yesterday, so I'm a bit worried. 54 minutes for 8K, which is very, very fast for me. So I'm now worried that I've peaked too early. But anyway, in 6 days' time, we will run my first 10K, and you're one of many, and we'll report back. However, we have more important business than to talk about injuries and preparation and 10Ks. We have a very special guest who is sort of at the other end of the performance spectrum from me. You'll see what that means in a minute. But Andrew, this is a gentleman that you've known for a long time. I have known for, let's have a look, 11 minutes now. It's probably best for you to introduce our special guest.
Yeah. As Oliver has sort of mentioned, we've been talking in the podcast series mostly about casual running for health and fitness, and there are people who take this to further extremes, and the person we have joining us today is pretty much from the other end of the spectrum. So we have David, who's a friend of mine from prenatal classes back when we had babies and that sort of thing, a very long time ago. And I know David has a very busy and demanding job, yet sometimes he seems to find the time to run across countries, and that's not cross country, that's run across countries. Best I can manage is across St Albans, across town. So hello David, how are you?
Evening, guys. Yeah, hi.
Evening.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Good to spend some time with you and talk all things running.
Yes, absolutely. So just a little bit more about sort of David and how we met. I mean, I didn't really clock that David was a runner, actually, even though I've known him for 25 years or so, until quite recently. And we used to see each other sort of jogging in the local park. And I remember one time we stopped for a chat a while ago, and I think I was heading home from one of my run till the blood comes out 5Ks that I used to do. And I saw David running along this very easy trot, and I sort of wondered what he was doing. He was running quite slowly but very easily, and so we had a chat, and he said he was doing this big loop, sort of taking in Watford and most of the towns in Hertfordshire. You know, I was saying, what? That sounds like 20, 30 miles. So that kind of immediately struck me as the type of running that I'd not really considered before, an easy pace but very, very long. And then you went on to explain that you were doing this 200 plus mile race across all of the mountains around, and then my brain essentially sort of started to fuse at that point. But
there was a time, wasn't it? I kept bumping into yourself and Rachel in alleyways or on parks, kind of like doing our slow runs. No, I remember it
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, it was. So we'll come back to Dragon's Back because that's almost the big exciting topic. But just to rewind a little bit, I'm just fascinated to know your journey and how you got into running. And I think I do know some of the answers for these questions because I do know you. But I mean, for the benefit of everyone else, so I mean, was there a time when you weren't fit? I mean, have you always been a runner? Were you a runner from school or?
Yeah. So I ran at school, ran for my cross country team, for the school's cross country team. Sorry, not mine, and competed in the different sports that the school provided at the time. So everything from rugby to hockey to basketball.
Okay.
But I did compete in terms of cross country. However, when on leaving school, I went to university and just didn't fall into the kind of sporting kind of life. So my whole kind of in terms of running and all that kind of thing depleted very very quickly, and other interests were pursued. Let's put it that way. Ironically, actually, because of what we were talking earlier, music and theatre and busking and learning guitar and getting into bands and
Ah,
stuff like
okay.
that. So that was where my energies, well, some of my energies went anyway.
Yes.
So and then, however, I went, became a teacher and kind of got married, and then in the early days of getting married and stuff, we went off to we'd go to the Lake District for holidays and for camping, caravans and stuff like that. And we would go up and down mountains, and so that kind of got me into recalled my love of mountains from my childhood. So
Yep.
in my schools and with my parents, our holidays and our trips with the schools were always to the mountains.
Yeah.
And my dad has taken me up numerous mountains. I've climbed up numerous mountains with my mum and dad together. So it was, and then it was in school that I got to kind of the idea of raising some money. Well, how can we do that? We can go and do the National Three Peaks. So the Ben Nevis, Scafell Pike, and
Yep.
Snowdonia in 24 hours. And so, well, to do that, we're going to have to get fit. So started doing some running in order to do that, which I, enjoyed the challenge of the Three Peaks,
Yep.
and then that led into me getting my working towards. And I am slightly embarrassed to talk about this in front of Andrew because he towards my mountain leadership qualification
Yep.
because unfortunately for him, I took him up a mountain in my very, very early, I have to stress, very early days, Andrew, and it was a disaster. Still haunts us. And ironically, is that actually that route is on the Dragon's Back. So, but it was through my interest in the mountains that the need to get fit
Yes.
came. So therefore, the need to run developed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and it's not so different in some ways from ultra running to sort of
no,
very
no,
fast hiking, of course, because
yeah, yeah,
people don't
yeah.
run all the time, obviously,
No,
in
no,
ultra running.
no,
Yeah.
very, very true. However, there was, but I wasn't doing a lot of running. But I went just prior to COVID. I went to started on my winter accreditation, winter mountain leadership, which is certainly a level up. And to do that, you have to go up to Scotland to get the kind of experience that you need. It's this kind of 40 QMDs, they call them, quality mountain days,
Yeah.
and but the trouble with up in Scotland is you have to walk so far before you can get to before you're climbing. Everything's so
Yeah.
much more remote. And I was coming back in the dark. I was finding myself kind of out way too late, and I'm thinking, why is this taking so long? And this sudden realization that I wasn't as young and I wasn't as fit as I used to be dawned on
Yeah.
me, and I started running again. Then COVID
Yeah.
happened, and my son and I were running together, which was lovely.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
it's,
did you come across any ultra running stuff in the media, or I guess on the early days of YouTube, which sort of made you think that this was actually like a growing sport?
I must admit, no, I didn't. Not until I was looking during COVID. I was looking for some mountain adventure, and I came across the Dragon's Back race,
Yeah, I mean, it made total
and
sense for you. Yeah,
and it was, people sometimes ask why, and for me it was when I watched it, the challenge of it, it was the adventure of it, that was it was exciting. It was
yeah,
purely exciting. Could I do that? I know the mountains. Yes, I can do it. Off you go and have a go at it. So
yeah,
yeah, and 5 years
yeah.
later I managed to get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what an endeavour. Well, I mean, that's a good time. So we sort of reversed a little bit back and heard how you got into running, and it sounds as though you were a runner. So you've got a huge head start on Oliver and me already, having got that sort of background. But in terms of the Dragon's Back, so that makes sense as to why you did it, because you had a background of sort of mountaineering, and then the fitness ties in. It all makes total
Yeah,
sense. But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the duration of it, 236 miles across multiple days. I mean, there are there are easier options. There's the Thames Coast Path. You might try
Yeah,
that.
I know, but it was, and people are, since kind of going into it, I've kind of found out that it's regarded as one of the toughest races in the world in terms of mountain races,
Yeah,
and people would say it's ridiculous to start there, but there's something quite attractive about that. Being told that you can't do something, or be told that that's way too much. That for
yeah.
me, there was something attractive about
Somewhere
that, and
quite achievable.
that's
Have you always been a little
yes.
bit like that, David? Like, tell me I can't do something, and that makes me even want to do it. Are you that kind of chap?
Slightly, yes.
Yeah.
So I was the fifth head teacher in 2 years at the school that I'm at the moment. I've been there for 24 years. So, and
Wow.
I
That's
heard
impressive.
about the school when I was in London. And this is a school that's in Hertfordshire, and it was, that drew me to it.
Yeah,
The
as
challenge of
as a
it.
school in need. Yeah,
Yeah, as a school in need, and even when I first became a teacher, I kind of decided that I was going to teach in either Moss Side or Tower Hamlets, because if I could teach in either of those two places, I would be able to teach pretty much anywhere. So,
yeah.
so there is an element of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you said that when you were doing the training for the Dragon's Back, it'd be fascinating to hear a bit about your training. But you also mentioned that you adapted the school sports day
Well,
to have a Dragon's Back. Go on.
well, no, that's slightly inaccurate in the sense that very graciously the PTA, in response to myself last year doing the Dragon's Back, and also this year to a parent who joined me to do it. When we came back, they organised a Dragon's Back race. So last
Oh,
year
right, right, right.
it was just around the school field, and they set up obstacles for the different parts. But this year they did. It was absolutely amazing. They set up a little route and they sent it out on so people could see it on their mobile phones,
Yeah.
and they had it going through the streets of Hatfield into Old Hatfield. And
Oh,
as
wow.
the children went past, like the estate agents or the pub or the shop, they could collect little dragon stickers. I mean,
Right.
it was
Wow.
absolutely fantastic. So going up 4th Street, the top of 4th Street was for all intents and purposes was the top of Snowdon. They did an absolutely amazing job. So it was lovely to see these families kind of like thinking they'd done the Dragon's Back race, and it
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's
In
brilliant.
some
I
sort of
mean,
way. Yeah.
to be honest, it was, as we'll kind of get on to, I'm sure it wasn't my first attempt, and actually seeing something good come out of my failures was something that kept me going.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
because that it's when you've spent so much money, spent so much time, and tried so hard to achieve something, and you don't achieve it, it was quite demoralising. So
Oh,
the
we're all
way it
about
was,
failure on this podcast. We're all about coming back failure. That's amazing. That's going to be. I can't wait to hear your story. Could you just describe a little bit more about what the Dragon's Back is? It's in Wales. It's up and down. How long is
Okay.
it? Days? How long does it take?
Yeah.
And do you
Okay.
get eliminated if you're too slow and stuff like that?
Oh, you sure do, Oliver. You sure do. So it's
He said bitterly.
Yes, it's from Conway to Cardiff. It's a 6-day event, and it's 380 kilometres
Good Lord.
long, and it follows the mountainous spine of Wales, so covers in terms of ascent nearly about twice the size of Everest in 6 days. One of the difficult aspects of it are some of the days the terrain is unrunnable, and the steepness is definitely unrunnable, especially in kind of the first 2 days. It's the terrain is what kind of gets people. So they may be used to road running, but it's very, very different. And here's a lovely statistic that I found out this year: if you come out of the top 40 on the first day, who finish in the top 40, only 10 go on to complete the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
That's tough,
Gosh,
isn't
that's
it?
brutal.
So
Squid Games.
Brutal.
Completion rate is normally is in the low 30%. And what I've always said to myself, to my friends who've asked about it, is that you arrive and you have a tent of 8 of you, and pretty much I've worked it out that there's probably, I know you're going to say, well, that's only 25%, but there's probably only going to be 2 of you left in that tent.
And you probably look around them like I do at parkrun and go, everyone in this tent is faster than me.
No, definitely. I mean, was I the oldest? I was the oldest. I look in my tent, and I'm the oldest there.
Oh God!
And I'm kind of like, but I'm determined. I know what it takes to kind of not be kind of knocked out this time, because, like I said, it's been my 4th attempt, and there's definitely been tears and pain and agony and big mistakes in those previous attempts. So, but the first day is about 50k, 4,000. It varies a little bit from who you talk to, but around just over 4,000 meters of ascent. Very, very tricky terrain, including Crib Goch, which is a grade 1 scramble. And then you've got day 2 is 60 kilometers through the Rhinogs, which are wild kind of mountains in Snowdonia. Great place to be, though. And then the next kind of 3 days are roughly around 70k, with the 5th day, so that's the third of those 3 days, being about 73, 74k. And it's a cruel day because it finishes in the Brecons and the fans in the Brecons where the SAS do all their training. So you do about 30 odd K, and then you're hit with the fans. It's up and down, and then the last 16k is the Brecons, and again you're up and down. It's fantastic. And then the last day, they kind of say, get to the end of day 5, and you will get you to Cardiff. So I was so relieved at getting to the end of day 5, which is a story in itself. But
you sort of know
that I had 60 odd K to go, but it was, compared to the other days, it was much easier.
What sort of so just to come back to the sort of getting ready and the preparation, what sort of training regime did you have?
Yeah, so my training has definitely evolved over the time. I'd say I've learned a lot. 1, about how to run, and 2, about how to train. So not this year, but the previous year, I was coached by a guy called Russell Bentley, who is an accomplished marathon runner. I think he's got a time of, if I've got this wrong, he won't be happy, but somewhere around 2:15, might be a bit less than that. And but he kind of said, okay, David, the golden rule is consistency. I want you running 6 times, pretty much 6 times a week, and then I want you training for about 9 hours a week. So that was roughly my target. So this and going through that process, you learn a lot about how your body works and how what works for you. I didn't use Russell directly this time, but I did have a couple of phone conversations with him, which were very helpful. He had watched me miss the previous year, miss the penultimate point of the last checkpoint on day 5. Sorry, the penultimate checkpoint on day 5 by 3 minutes. So I'd run 300 kilometers and I missed it by 3 minutes.
That's half it. It's almost better to clock out on the first gate, isn't it? Really? In a way?
Yeah. So that was hard. And he said, "Look, okay, what I'm interested in now is I know you can do the distance, critical speed. Hence, Andrew, track." So Andrew and I go down to track on, say, Auburn Striders, and we do intervals, and that is all about developing speed and being able to maintain that speed over a period of time.
Yeah, we've touched on that. Yeah.
Which is that's bandwidth, anaerobic bandwidth.
And that made a big difference. That coupled with working with a guy called Shane Benzie. So Russell taught me, I would say, on reflection, Russell taught me how to train, where Shane had more of an input in terms of how to run. And Shane was about getting me to just increase my stride length by a few centimeters for each stride, and recognizing that if I did that over the course of 70k, that was going to make a big difference. And sure enough, to my putting those two together, I was amazed that this year I was coming in an hour and a half earlier than I was doing before. I could not believe it.
Wow.
And yet it was so exciting, honestly, for someone who's kind of like pushing the time bounds, getting in
every
by
time suddenly, yes.
Yeah. So what was, yeah, I mean what's surprising though is that some people ask, did you kind of train for run for a really long time periods in your training? The furthest I ran was about 35k.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, people find that strange, but I might have done 35k and then 35k the next day.
Yes, so you have a lot of tiredness in your legs, but you're not running 50k. Or
so
even marathon distances.
So the key for me is because if I'm running 60k one day, I'm going to need a day off the next day.
You're battered
or 2 days
the next
off.
day, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the key is consistency, is running frequently.
Yes.
And to the point where I could comfortably run 30k one day, 30k the next day, have a day off, then run a 1:48 half marathon, and then run a 7k, an 8k a night, progressive runs. So that wouldn't be unusual for me.
Yeah. So for somebody who's a similar age, so we're sort of cruising our late 50s, aren't we, David? I think pretty much.
Yeah.
I think I might be a bit older than you, but So that's incredible what the human body can do in terms of not just pace, but I mean distance and just how much adaptation you can keep on building in and just keep on getting better.
And consistency is the key. Consistency is the key, because if you're consistent and you give yourself time, you can make micro adjustments in terms of increase the stress that you're putting on your body in micro steps. You don't have to go for this huge leap, and by doing that, slowly but surely, you do build up the adaptations. You look back over 2 months and suddenly there's a change.
There's a big change.
You look back over 6 months, you look at a change. Now I've been running now for kind of like 4-5 years, and I can see the change.
Yeah.
Big change.
And I think with Shane Benzie, you the guy who you got to help with your running, your running form and your stride length, you recommended his book to me, and I do like a book. We've talked about the various books. I think Shane Benzie's book was something like, I don't want to get the name wrong, but it's something like the
Lost Art of Running.
The Lost Art of Running, yes. His theme was that he had asked the question how the Kenyans running, and had spent a lot of time investigating at a deep scientific level how do the best runners actually run, and Yeah,
No.
and
He
passing it
was
on.
great. Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, yeah. Just so he's a fascinating person to actually met and had personal input from into how you run. Yeah. So
Yeah,
some people say don't mess with your gait. Your gait is your gait, and other people have a different view. But yeah, Shane is of the opinion that you can make positive changes, and you're the evidence for that, David.
well, I mean, what one of the key things I would say he taught me about was listening to how my feet land and how they feel when they're landing, and how I use my foot. Because that's the interaction with the ground. That's what you need to be tuned into.
Yeah.
So often we're tuned into our breathing, our huffing, and our puffing. Am
Yes,
I
and the
moving
misery of
my?
it. Yeah.
But actually, we want to be really tuned into how our feet are landing and moving. And actually,
Interesting.
sometimes now I can kind of feel if I feel a pain, like I've got a kind of recurring kind of I wouldn't call it an injury, but it is an injury, but I kind of have to manage it, and I can adjust that as I'm running now. Which is if I can feel it beginning to develop, I can kind of change how I'm running, and it's normally because I know that I'm beginning to use the outside of my right foot, and I need
Okay.
to
Yeah.
lean it back. It's like I'm tilting to the right
Yes.
as I overstride, and actually what I need to bring it back to make sure the whole ball of the foot is
Is in contact.
sitting kind of parallel to the ground as it were when it lands, and
Interesting.
that just being made aware of that was really really important.
Yeah.
But no, I love a book as well. I've read numerous books. I know you can't see this on the podcast, but this was a very good book, The Art of Running Faster, with an excellent coach called Julian Gota. And that when I read this, I was ready to read this. So
Yep.
this spoke about doing doubles. I'd never heard of doing doubles. That's running, guys. Wait for this, twice a day. And
Yes.
suddenly,
Insanity.
and suddenly your volume just shoots up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah. And
shoots
you're
up.
running with tiredness in your legs.
Yeah, and what he really emphasised, and actually this is something, what it helped me realise actually was it helped me appreciate what Russell was trying to do with me when he was coaching me the previous year.
Yes.
It makes sense now. And what Julian he said what he says is make sure there is purpose in every run that you do. Is you're not just going out to plod around somewhere. If you're doing a recovery run, make sure you keep at a recovery pace. But there are runs like the intervals that we do. There are progressive runs. So I mentioned earlier that I was doing kind of like a 7K, 8K, 9K, and those would be each kilometres faster.
So negative
Yeah,
splits,
and
as we say. Yeah.
or your hill sprints or something like that. So there is a
Yeah.
purpose, and so each week now I'm not running much at the moment, but I'll kind of go back onto that later. I'm running one main run at the weekend.
Yep.
All my other runs and my gym sessions, etc., are to prepare me for that. Are help to prepare for that run,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's an important thing to kind of like. I don't get kind of worried about times or anything like that on the rest of my runs. Russell was very much run to feel, and all these other runs I'm doing sessions are all about the weekend run. They help me to
That
prepare for that.
that sort of thing was a revelation. I know when I first worked out that there was more to running than just going out and just running 5K as fast as you could and then falling on the floor.
Yeah,
The idea that you had slow long runs and short fast runs, and then in between runs and threshold runs, and obviously it
yeah.
depends where you want to go with your running as to how much you care about all of that. But even mixing it up a bit can make a huge difference rather than
I
just going
know.
out and just pounding out a 5K.
I think creating kind of variety is really important if you're going to sustain that consistency of running. And I'd come back to what Russell said: consistency is key to it.
Yeah.
If you want to see improvement, when we put effort into anything, we want to see improvement, don't we? So And I think for me, running is about getting stronger. And how do you measure whether you're getting stronger or not? It's normally through the speed that or the
Yeah,
distance that you're able to
to
cover.
sustain.
What I find
Just coming
interesting here,
back.
right,
Sorry,
is I
go
didn't
on.
think that. Oh, sorry, but I just want to say quickly, as a beginner runner, 18 months in and still slow but getting better. I didn't know. I was really interested in the story and the adventure and the ups and downs, quite literally, both emotionally
Yeah,
and
yeah,
um, topologically. Um,
yeah,
whether I could take anything away from this as a beginner, and the answer is absolutely I can, because all the things you're talking about, consistency, I feel that's really important. All the things about go out for a run with purpose as well. It sounds like
yeah,
taking it too seriously, but it's not at all. It's just saying, what am I trying to achieve through this run? And I think that's really important as well. And when I've started to do that, I have got better.
yeah.
And this is the recovery run. This is a tempo run as well. So thanks very much for telling us all these things that actually even I, as a beginner, can relate to. It's really interesting. But sorry, Andrew, what were you going to ask?
I was just going to ask David if he could just tell us a bit more about what it was like actually on the race itself. So we talked a bit about the preparation, and then there's the OMG.
Yeah,
You actually doing
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and maybe what the high points and low points were.
yeah. Well, I mean, it,
I don't know how you sum
it's
that up.
yeah, it's a. I mean, I look back and it's just an amazing. It is an amazing experience, but it hurts. I can't put it any other way. It does hurt, and the times when I didn't reach it, I missed a checkpoint by a minute, or I was pulled out because of injury, because of my blisters have turned septic. Then um, it's really demoralising and very in at some points distressing. Um, but I kind of I knew that my responsibility for this whole adventure was to just keep turning the page and keep being open to the fact that I could improve and that I could get better. And each time each attempt, I said, okay, I'm going to work on this now. I'm going to try this now. So getting there, the excitement of being in Conway Castle, you're amongst some elite runners, which, just to be in the same race with these guys is just amazing. Um, and there is a huge buzz of excitement. But the first day, the first 30K is just, I kind of like would always find difficult. Everyone's moving at a pretty rapid pace.
Yes.
It's over rough ground, but this year it was chucking it,
Yeah.
absolutely chucking it. The rivers were and the streams were kind of
Floods.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and
Tons.
paths kind of gone. They even had people standing in the middle of rivers to help people cross and stuff like that. It was really really wet. They've actually kind of said it was the wettest they've ever known it. So, but there's a fantastic moment. You come at the end of the Carnedai, so it's probably about 28K, and you're on the top of Penny Olwyn, and you look across, and there's this huge fin of a mountain called Trevan, just kind of peeking through the clouds, and you know that you've got to go all the way down, and then you've got to go all the way up, and
What does that do to you? What does that do to you?
but the thing is,
Yeah.
you know you can do it.
You've got the training.
You,
Yeah.
you've got the training. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You keep persevering, and before you know it, you are up there. I mean, so highlights for me that there were. What was really nice about this year was that I was drawing on the experience of all the other years. Okay, so one of the things was that everyone gets their GPX and they're following it. Some of the people are following it religiously, but I also know that you have to go between 2 points. Let's just take two of the points, checkpoints, where you have to kind of make sure that you've been to. There's no markings on the ground to say
Yep.
that you've been there, but you can see it on the map. That's where you've got to get to. Now, for some reason, sometimes the GPX would just take people off on this other tangent and then round and eventually get to that, and I would just cut straight across,
Right.
and it was lovely. So that there are there are some shortcuts. So what I did. There was a guy who beat me last year, a guy called Sean, And I actually met him on day 5 this year and barked to him like, "Thank you so much for all your shortcuts." So I looked him up, his GPX file, and I tracked his route because I was looking at him, a bit like you said, Oliver. You look at all these other people and you think, well, I could be faster than you. I could be, I'm thinking, why did he beat me? And I followed his route, and lo and behold,
He was
there's
taking
these
shorter routes.
diversions, and I couldn't believe it. And I was kind of like, so one of the things I did in this training is I went and did many of those diversions. And they just took 5 minutes off here, or caught me back up with a group that had left me. And there was one point where where I didn't know about this diversion, but I saw this guy who I recognised from previous years. I knew he was a good runner, and he was running with his daughter. This a guy called I think it's Chaz is his name, and he's running with his daughter. And I just thought, look, we're going up. No, we've been up Connect and the Welsh Matterhorn, by the way. And we're about to go down. It's a notorious bit. It's full of scree. People fall over. People fly down, get hurt. But he suddenly darts off. And I think, right, for this kind of next 10 minutes, I'm just going to hang on to his kind of his tailcoat, as it were, and kind of like, and he just took this route, which I just did not know existed. Yeah. It was amazing. It's like people know the kind of like the trods that the sheep take, that the goats take, and it was fantastic to follow him. And what was so nice was that this other guy that I was running with, he'd gone ahead of me, and about an hour later, he passed me and looked at me and went, "Hang on a minute, what?" Could not believe it. And I was like, I don't know where you've been, mate, but I've got no time for sightseeing. And it was great. So there were little highlights like that. And I kept using those. There's probably one or maybe two that I would use each day. Not on the last day, but definitely day what would I say? The day 2 definitely, and day 3. So those were really kind of highlights. I think another highlight was as I'm on the day 1, I'm running up Conway Mountain, and this guy, I recognise him and I shout, "Nathan, hi!" And he comes over, shakes my hand, and says, "Have a good one, David." And he was in my first tent in 2021.
Oh gosh! Okay.
Wow.
It was fantastic. And then track forward 6 days, I'm running in through Cardiff Park. I'm about 3k out. I see this figure coming towards me. There's a guy called Ben who was also in my tent in 21, and he runs with me to Cardiff. And honestly, it was just I was bookended by these two guys, which was just a lovely moment, and I'm eternally grateful to both of them for that, because they saw my first attempt, and on my first attempt, Oliver, I missed day 1 by a minute. And
I saw you on YouTube after.
I am
you're immortalised. You're the guy who came through with seconds to go.
And it was, and I was very angry. I have to say, I was very angry with that whole organisation, and that's why I didn't go back, because there was a couple of reasons why. I'd started off at 7:00, and I had finished at 10, which is 15 hours, and my time though was 14 hours 52. So why was I timed out? And secondly, also we had to wait lots of times at queues for you've got 300 plus runners and you're getting over styes and stuff like that. However, the credit to the organisation is they clearly do listen to reviews, and they have taken all of that on board, and those things aren't now evident within the run. So, but it took me a while to get over that. But I have to say, one of my main highlights was I got to the end of day 5, and I was helped to my tent, and I got into my tent, and I suddenly realised that I was the only guy there.
Okay, yeah.
Of the original tent, they kept you in the same tent.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And basically, you see people
Squid Games
disappearing one by one,
Oh,
by
dear.
one, by one. So on the first night, the parent that I was running with, a guy called Daniel, we're lying in this pod together, and we can hear the helicopters buzzing around, rescuing people.
Just plucking people off the mountain.
That's
Plucking
always
people
good
off
for
the
morale.
mountain.
Yeah.
And so within the first night, one guy didn't even turn up. Another guy got an injury, which meant that he fell somewhere and he couldn't continue. So that was 2 down after the first night. Second night, 2 guys dropped down to the hatchling. And then there was these other 2 guys that I thought clearly looked much younger than me, stronger than me. Daniel, unfortunately, got an injury, couldn't continue from the 3rd day onwards. But then they disappeared as well.
They haven't got the grey hair and gristle.
Yeah,
right.
but then one guy turned up in my tent, and he was a young American guy doing the hatchling, which is
which is a short half distance.
So I kind of
still incredible.
But for that moment, I was stood in the tent on my own, and all the pods were empty, and I couldn't believe it. And honestly, tears. Just goodness me, I've done it. I can't believe it. I'm the last man standing. Then it dawned on me.
Are there any? Were there any? I don't want to focus on the negatives, but were there any points where you thought you might quit or might not make it, or you did have a little bit of a fall?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely had a couple of falls. One on the first day, and I kind of just coming down Penny Olwyn, which I mentioned earlier, took a bit of a fall and slipped onto the front of my front lip and my front 2 teeth, but they kind of seemed to be okay. And on the end of day 1, there's an awful descent. It is muddy, it's wet, and I went flying. And fortunately didn't hit. It hurt my back, but not my head too much. Yeah. If I'd landed on rock, that would have been very, very nasty. But some people do have nasty accidents, and that's,
you're running that far in the mountains.
I've run past people who are sat there and waiting for mountain rescue. They can't move, but so I mean, low points are normally psychologically, to be honest.
Sure.
I can't lie in terms of that. The first attempt there, I think I must have run because I'd missed the first day by 1 minute. I then had a choice: do I just leave or do I continue? So my commitment was to continue. So, but knowing that I could never complete the race now because I've been timed out. And so on day 6, when I'm running, off to Cardiff, I'm crying as I'm running because I've got to Cardiff, but I know I've missed it by a minute.
Oh, you went all the way. Oh, golly.
And it is just.
But at least you knew that you had.
They allowed me on a couple of the days. They allowed me to do. I had to do a half day because that's their rule. If you do time out, you can't do the next half. The next half, you have to join. You're reinserted into the race, as it were. Then in the second time I did it in 23, I was withdrawn from the race because I hadn't experienced blisters before, amazingly, but this time it was very, very hot and I still hadn't explored nutrition and hydration properly. And I had really bad blisters and they got septic and they withdrew me. So, the whole medic tent, Oliver, is just kind of like crazy. It's like going into a war zone.
Is it like MASH?
MASH. It is. I mean, they are very good. Don't get me wrong, they're very good. But I'm sat there. I've got one of the kind of helpers holding one arm here, the other another one holding an arm here, and while they're kind of like nurse kind of lances the first blister and then says, "Oh no, there's one underneath the thing."
Your blisters had blisters, David.
Yeah. So in she goes, and it's just. However, once that happens, my toes feels much better. But unfortunately, somewhere else they got septic. So, and they took me, and it's quite ruthless, really, because there's basically you're out of the race, and you have to kind of find your way out back. So I'm sat in a bus stop in Brecon, waiting for some, I don't know, bus to take me to some kind of station, and completely crushed. But on the bus station wall was this little extract from a poem and it just said, "Run, run, running boy, run."
Oh
Whether it
no.
is your breath or my breath, run, running boy, run. And I just held on to that. Sometimes in these kind of dark moments, you just got to find something to hold on to.
How
And
strange and
I,
amazing.
yeah, clung on to that and said, right, I will come back and do this. And that's when
Yeah.
I went back again, had Russell, and Russell taught me how to train. But clearly, I needed kind of 2 years of that training to get it right.
To get the
So,
adaptations in.
so yeah. So this year,
So,
managed to do it. There was 90 of us who finished out of the 300 or whoever, or 270, 280 who started, and I was number 85.
yeah.
So
Wow.
something like that. But I was very happy to be 85th. Very very happy
Spectacular,
indeed.
spectacular achievement. I mean, just sort of moving on to your life now in the future with running. I mean, where do you now go? I mean, are
Well,
you going to become an ultra god and
no.
keep going, or are you going
Well,
back to beat your time?
yeah, yes, I know. I saw that question, and I will answer that. But the first thing, and this is quite serious in a sense that it is serious, not in a sense it is serious. 4 weeks no running. That was
Sure.
that was the director's recommendation, the race director's recommendation, and I was fine with that. And then to do 2 or 3 months of gentle running. So now, so I did 4 weeks of no running. Then I did one run the next week. Then the next week after I did 2 runs. The next week, and so now I'm up to 3 runs a week, one gym session, and one Pilates. And I do the Pilates at home. And actually, it's interesting when I got into my training, kind of like 3 or 4 months into it, you suddenly realise that actually it's like taking a bearing. You set off on a kind of a certain direction, and it's not until you've kind of travelled
A distance.
a distance before you realise, I'm slightly off here. But sometimes it's too late to kind of, I can't go all the way back to the beginning and start again. But actually, finishing now with Dragon's Back, after finishing, I can reset. And I'm actually really trying to kind of get more strength training in, get
Yes.
more stretching in,
Yeah.
and use up until Christmas to make sure that the pattern, the consistent pattern that I'm trying to develop actually has things that keep my bearing true, rather than kind of thinking 4 months, oh goodness me, I haven't done enough glutes training, or I haven't stretched my hamstrings enough, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. But actually to try and create a pattern that is actually going to hit all the buttons. So when I am 4 months down in my training, I'm thinking I'm actually true to where I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Goodness. Yeah.
It's just an opportunity to kind of reset, as it were,
Yeah.
and to realise of all the different facets and make up training. Because what I did to start with, I'd go out and go for a run, and that's all
That's
I
how
do.
we all start, isn't it? I think.
There's nothing wrong with that, But if after a few months of going that, I've probably realised actually what I really need to develop as a habit is a warm up.
Yeah. So are you now running with a purpose, David? Are you? Do you have something in mind yet?
Not. I do have things in mind, but not. I haven't booked anything. I do have things. I think, to be honest, family needs a rest from it all, and so what I'm just quietly trying to do is find a consistency of training that I can maintain, and I'm happy with all the ingredients in it.
Yeah.
So that when I do start to pick it up, I'm following that consistent line.
Yeah.
If that
Conscious
makes
of time, actually, and we've had quite a good whip around on the Dragon's
flown by,
Back.
though.
I was going to just ask sort of one final question, which is a bit of a silly question that I dreamt up and came to me. Whether you're a run to live or a live to run sort of person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. First of all, the other question, I would go back to Dragon's Back if I thought I could be the quickest, the fastest 60-year-old. But there are some quick guys out there.
Yes.
I don't think I'll go back if I'm just going to repeat it. But when I go into my next age category, if I thought there's a chance of having a time that can compete with the fastest, then
Yes.
that would be exciting.
That's exciting.
So, do I live to run? No, I run to live.
Yep. Yep. Makes
Okay.
sense. So you run more for a
So to
healthier
me-
life than you would because it's
I
your identity.
Running brings me joy, brings me adventure, brings me strength to access and engage with other activities, with other people. Brings friends, brings stories. There's so many stories which I haven't told you about Dragon's Back, but and friendships which I haven't told you about, which
Yeah.
have kind of developed because of it. It's just lovely, and I wouldn't be able to have those experiences and those memories if I hadn't started running. So running to live in all its fullness is definitely, I think, would be the way I'd put it. Helps me
Fantastic.
to live in all its fullness.
Yes.
What a nice way to
Awesome.
put it. Yeah. I just hope that you manage to enjoy the countryside whilst you're up there. Is that possible? We spoke to Paul Tonkinson, who did a desert run, and he said he was still able to enjoy the fact that he was on a particularly incredible part of planet Earth. And he also said he quite liked the idea of getting up, eating, running, going to sleep, getting up and doing it all again the same, all the same the next day. That kind of decluttered your mind from everything. I don't know.
Yeah, no, very
just
much
quickly,
so.
if you can relate to that before we finish.
Yeah, no, I would. I can relate to it. You are single-minded. Well, this year I was very single-minded in what I was doing. I had a very single purpose to complete the Dragon's Back. I wasn't there to make friends. I wasn't there to meet anybody. I didn't have time to consider what was going on at school or anything like that. I was there to do and complete the Dragon's Back, and that clarity of purpose, and also everyone around you is either supporting you or trying to do the same thing as well. So there's no kind of distraction, as it were.
Yeah.
I think that was very, very enjoyable. But I can't get away from the fact that it hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's coming out
On
loud
an
and clear.
unimaginable level.
I could enjoy the scenery and I could enjoy where I was, but perhaps more so in the recce's than the actual race.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What a fantastic story. Thank you so much for sharing it. That's brilliant, David. Really brilliant. I loved it.
Yes.
And I've learned
Yeah,
things
wonderful.
that I can use, Andrew. What about
Oh,
that?
definitely. If you want a training tip, I would say get into your hydration, because that was
Oh,
something
really?
that definitely unlocked a whole load of things for me.
Interesting.
Not so
You
much
feel
the
absolutely
nutrition,
horrendous. Yeah, running.
but
Dehydration.
hydration definitely that was key.
That's what I'm going to take away.
That was a
apart from
big
other
difference.
things.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right. Well, take care, guys. Lovely
Yes.
to talk to you. Thank you for allowing me to bend your ear about Dragon's Back.
I'm glad we did.
It was
Thanks for
lovely
sharing
to,
that, David. It was something which once I'd heard that you were doing this again, it was something that I wanted to talk about, and it's wonderful to do this on the podcast and let other people hear about it as well, and maybe be inspired as well.
Yeah, do sign up. It is an adventure.
Wow, well, that was David Lodge. What a great guy. What an unbelievable... I wish he'd been my headmaster. What an unbelievable story, Andrew. What a great find.
I've been saving
of course,
that
you've
up,
known him a long
actually.
time.
Yeah, I found out about David's ultra running quite a long time before we decided to start sharing our running on podcasts, and I always thought that this was going to be a fascinating, inspirational thing to hear about, and I think we could have talked for another hour or two, and there's so many more stories there about what the human body can do.
Yeah. At our age, and our size. I think it was Paul Tonkinson, wasn't it, last week? He said, it's like doing an experiment on your body. to see what it can do. And I love that. I just thought, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And you have a good run and you go, oh, God, that's right. I could run forever, I think, like I did yesterday. And then you have a terrible run and you go, oh, I'm rubbish. I'm going to give up. And then you go, no, I'm not. Because you don't do that when you're experimenting with the body. It's not linear.
And just an indication of David's training. So we were... David said, you must come along to St Albans Running Club Striders. So I went along with David, and the idea is that you listen to the coach, you do some warm-ups, and then you start doing various exercises and various sort of interval-style runs. And so one of them is something like run around the track, 400 metres stop for 30 seconds, and then do it again. Then you end up doing 5k, and you pace yourself so that you're running at the maximum speed that you think you can sustain for that particular distance. And so we both started it off, and I thought, I can keep with David. Really, I think I can keep with David.
What possessed you to think that?
Well, you see, because older guys. I mean, he looks like a normal guy. He looks a bit like me. Okay, maybe not as big, but anyway. And he wasn't running fast, but so he sort of ran with me for the first 400 meters, and I was looking down at my watch, and I was doing something like a running of 3 minute 50 kilometer, thinking, I'm not going to be able to keep this up more than another 5 seconds, I think. And then he was just off after that. But he's an incredibly fit guy. I think his VO2 max was approaching 50. I think, sorry, David, I've got that wrong, but that's something like that.
Yeah, that sounds quite good. Yeah.
Which
but
is
again,
pretty amazing.
It's all the things he talked about, and the camaraderie, and the consistency, and the finding out things that you didn't know that make you better. It's all the same wherever you are on this running a journey, and that's why I liked it. Well, he's just a nice chap as well, with a good story and articulate, as a headmaster should be. But we've had so much of him that we haven't got too much of us. So we're probably going to have a special ep next time on increasing the distance, which will actually, thinking about it, it'll coincide quite nicely with my first ever 10k and your however many you've done. So we will probably be able to record that, knowing that we've got another 10k in the bag or not. Let's see what happens.
Yes, and hopefully my foot. I'm doing it as an experiment, really, and see if my foot holds out, really. So
well, that's what he said, isn't it? That's what David said. Have a purpose for every run. And I think that's
I'm hoping to annoy you as well, Oliver.
Yes, well, no, that's pretty inevitable. I'll be staring at everyone's backside around that course, but never mind. Some more eye-catching than others, no doubt. So that's it for now. So see you at the 10k. Good luck. Hope your injury holds out. And let's see what we can do. And we'll speak to everyone on the other side. Bye for now.
Another fascinating conversation. Thank you, Oliver.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
La 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 la.